morning, ladies. I hope you all are having a great week so far. I have an announcement. We have a workshop coming up, and we will be talking about public speaking, communication, and leadership. And this workshop will be facilitated by Miss Lillian Cook.
Well, I am going to tell you a little bit about WIN's core values and WIN's mission. Our core values are we support and encourage each other in an environment that encourages growth personally and professionally. We promote opportunities that support each other. We accept challenges because that is how we grow. The mission of WIN is we strive to provide opportunities for women to connect with and to support each other. We deliver programs that contribute to the personal and professional development of our members. We hope to meet their needs at the right time in the right way. And by providing opportunities for development, fostering valuable connections, and facilitating member success through business and career growth.
And you're going to love PeggyLee Wright. She is our guest speaker tonight. And for some reason, I'm looking at an abbreviated version of her bio. So let me just start out by saying that PeggyLee is badass. Like, she is somebody that you need to know and you're going to want to know by the end of our time together. She's a former U.S. Army UH-60 Black Hawk pilot. She has served at the 82nd Airborne Division, Honduras, Central America, and Fort Lee, Virginia. And following her military career, PeggyLee used her experience in DoD logistics, leadership management, behavior analysis, and education to create a new approach to business development and solutions, ultimately establishing the company in 2018. And there is so much more that I want to tell you about her. I met her at the Catalyst for the first time, and she just has so much going on that I would rather she introduce herself. So PeggyLee, you have the floor, and we want to hear from you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Angela. And my gosh, so much has changed in I guess it's probably about 18 or 20 months since you and I met at the Catalyst. So very exciting. But yes, hello everyone. My name is PeggyLee, and it really is a privilege to be part of your evening. So I'm just so appreciative to be here with you. I'm a mother of 4 phenomenal children. We adopted our oldest son, and then went on to have another son biologically, and then 2 girls that are twins. We've been very blessed, my husband and I, in our lives to have these 4 kids. Each of them have an amazing story of their own, of how they came to be here on earth with us. But I feel very blessed to have landed here in Huntsville, and we've managed to make Huntsville our home over the past decade. I am the owner of the company you keep. It's a small business development firm headquartered here in Huntsville, but I have clients throughout the U.S., some small, some medium, some large, and my large companies have international reach. So it's been really exciting to be part of that. I'm not going to bore you too much with my background because I know that's not why you're here, but my background is definitely eclectic. From a military experience as a rotary wing pilot to becoming a behavior analyst in education, then logistics, and now business development. I feel like each experience has given me a new tool for my kit bag, much in the same way that I know many of you live your lives. We're constantly developing and evolving, and we're developing those kit bags through the experiences that we have throughout our life. My company is a little different, and I share what that difference is with you because I think that it does play into why and what I want to talk to you about tonight. So I want to talk about connecting to the server. And I don't know, Angela, if that's something that you can share the screen with. Thank you so much. I want to talk to you about connecting to the server because I truly believe that service, by the title, I think you know that it's going to be talking about service, but I truly believe that when we talk about service, it goes far beyond the uniform. And when it came to starting my company, I wanted to use my passion for service to kind of be the catalyst behind my company. So I took what I think are the special things about Huntsville being the big five. I call them the big five, and that's the government, the military, our industry, our world of academia, as well as our very robust nonprofit enterprises. And I make them work together. I took an approach of business development that put the perspective that these five enterprises that are very unusual for just one city to have, and I make them work together for the betterment of everyone. And when each of them are able to play in the sandbox together, they start to realize that if they work together, a lot better and bigger things happen. Today, we are going to talk about service, and the few things we're going to talk about are what I think service is, a motto of mine called "Embrace the Suck," and don't worry, I'll explain that. We're going to talk about some connections, things that I think are useful differences between us that also go towards service, a history of connections, and then how to connect to your server. So this is my motto. It's a personal motto. It's "Embrace the Suck." And yes, I will explain it. So when I was a young lieutenant, I had a mentor that was well on his way to becoming a general officer. And he'd been a close family friend while I was growing up. So I did have the benefit of us being able to speak to one another very frankly and quite candidly. And I can remember I was in flight school, and I was not at all pleased with a grading that I had received on a flight, because we get graded on these flight tests. And in fact, I was so bummed that at one point I was questioning whether or not I was cut out to be a pilot. Did I really need to be here? Because it was one of the more challenging things that I had ever done, was go to flight school. Well, I was busy complaining, to my mentor. I ran to him with my tail, tucked between my legs, complaining and having a bit of a pity party speech to him about how disappointed I was. And he pulled no punches. And he told me that, yes, I'm sure this sucked. I'm sure that you did not receive the best standing that you wanted to, but you need to suck it up. Meaning, you need to embrace the way that you're feeling. You need to stand up to the challenge. You need to study more, practice more, do more. And that's when he said, basically, you need to embrace the suck. And he pulled no punches in telling me that, yes, life does suck sometimes. And that if I didn't embrace the way that I was feeling and get control of it, it would get control of me and it would defeat me. Whereas if I embrace the challenges, if I welcome them, loved them even, that I would find ways to overcome them. And it's kind of funny because to this day, and we're talking over 30 years later, I feel that I'm always at my personal best when I'm actually faced with a challenge. I feel like it tests my grit. It allows me to measure my abilities. And when I embrace the suck, it doesn't embrace me. As women in business, I think that we certainly find ourselves in circumstances that test our grit, and they challenge us to overcome challenges, to embrace those challenges. So I'm probably preaching to the choir with you all when I tell you to embrace the suck, but it's something that I have really carried with me for the past 30 years. And it has really helped me kind of muscle through some things that I think otherwise might have defeated me. So what is service? I probably could just have put a bunch of little kids on this slide because I truly believe that service starts with kiddos. That picture of me is with my family, and my kids will joke with you that other than telling them things like "suck it up, buttercup," embrace the suck when they go through things, that the other thing that I'm always imparting on them is, what have you done lately to help someone else? And I can tell you that I truly do believe that service starts with kids. So many times I'm asked to speak at Veterans Day events for obvious reasons. I'm a veteran. I come from a family of veterans. My husband is a veteran. And in fact, I mean, that's exactly what, the military calls it. They call it military service, right? In fact, we're even asked, how long did you serve? When you've been in the military, we're referred to even as service members. So you're not going to get an argument out of me that military folks truly are servers. But I also believe in my heart that service goes well beyond that. There are so many other ways to serve than just in uniform. An example would be, and I do give this example a lot. My dad was a Korean War vet. He went on to become a Vietnam vet. He received several Purple Hearts, did multiple tours in both wars. He had 2 biological sons, and then he went on to adopt a baby girl. Well, that was me. He adopted me because he knew that my life otherwise was going to be pretty crappy. So here was a man serving in the military, doing justice for his country, doing all of these things for his family, and then bringing me into his family as well as an infant. And I can tell you that my life would not have been ideal had he not brought me into his family, which is my family now. So I guess you could say that service to others was shown to me from the very beginning of my existence. Besides the fact that I was adopted by an amazing man and had served his country in 2 wars, my dad taught my brothers and I what service was at a very young age. And I don't mean service in uniform. I can remember being 7, the ripe old age of 7. And I came home and I was really complaining about the status of my school's classroom. I didn't like it. It was dingy. It was dirty. I didn't feel like the teacher was doing what she needed to do. And my dad, instead of going to the school and going to the administrator and talking about what needed to be done to fix it, he looked at me, all of 7, and said, well, what are you doing to fix it? You're doing a lot of complaining. What are you doing to fix it? And I was like, I'm 7. But he was right. And I knew that. And so I actually went to school the next day and asked my teacher if it would be possible if for a couple of days a week I could stay after school and help her decorate the class. And that turned into me staying behind, cleaning desks, hanging up kids' artwork, creating more artwork. And before you knew it, before the end of the month, almost every second grader in our class had volunteered to stay to do the same thing. And it became like this badge of honor for 7-year-olds. I stayed 2 days this week, to help with the classroom. What did you do? And, but what it really taught me was that children can be of service to their community. And at that point in my life, my community was my classroom. But what it also taught me is that service leads to connections. Because I connected with my teacher, I connected with my classmates in a different way than I had been. I connected with my classmates' parents. I was even making connections with other teachers because then other students from other classrooms wanted to do what we were doing. And I think that has been the neatest lesson for me throughout my life, is that when you serve with others, you create a bond that is genuine. I think about the camaraderie that I have and that many military service members have, because that's a bond when you're doing something together like service. I put that parallel to the bonds and the connections that I've made with people when we're doing charitable work and in organizations. I bet I could ask that of all of you that partake in WIN and what you're doing for women. It creates a bond that is so genuine that it leads to a connection that is so significant, both personally and professionally, just as Lillian stated when she was talking about the code of WIN. And I just really appreciate that. And I think that it ends up having second and third order impacts that we may never know about that go well beyond our own communities. So that takes me to, I talked about connections and service leading connections. So I'm not talking about networking. I think networking is important. I think networking is part of what we have to do in business. It does bring you a connection. It can propel you personally and professionally. Make no mistake, we all need networking connections. However, I also believe that there's a genuine human connection that can also serve us very well when it is coming from a place that is heartfelt. Prior to the pandemic, we used to joke when I would be on the arsenal with a customer or with a client, one of my DoD contractors, we used to joke about conference room meetings and death by PowerPoint. Now we find ourselves in multiple Zoom meetings and calls. Some folks turn on their cameras, others don't. And when it's your first time in a room and you've never met folks, it can be hard, to gauge the audience. It can be hard from a phone or from a Zoom call. We've managed, just like Wynn is doing tonight, you've managed to figure out how to still try and make those connections. And I applaud you for it, because that is still important to us, to have these connections, because there's an energy that comes from it that you just can't duplicate. So I am thankful to organizations like Wynn that are still working on these human connections that we need. I think for me, and this is just me pontificating, is I think that connection with fellow human beings could very arguably be the meaning of life. I think connections motivate us to continually achieve our daily goals. I can't tell you enough, and I'm sure that ladies, you are the same way. When you see a colleague or a friend, a girlfriend, or a family member achieve things, it's inspiring. And so when we can make connections with people who are achieving and making a difference, it inspires us to do the same. And I hold on to that. When I watched Angela, almost 2 years ago, we're sitting at Catalyst and we are talking about what our ideas for our companies are and what we want to do. And now here she and I are collaborating on tonight. And I've watched her do just amazing things, not just for her business, but for the community. And that inspires me. I'll never forget the bosses or leadership that I've had that knew names of my kids or my spouse, or asked, how's your mom doing? I heard, that she was sick last week. Those types of small gestures mean so much to an employee or a colleague or someone in our workforce that I don't know if everyone or every leader or every boss recognizes that we need that. And so I loved how Angela and Lillian and Dion, when we were first doing the mic check, how you guys were just kind of talking about your days and, hey, how was this going? And hey, how long before you're going to lose that internet connection and things like that. That to me is a genuine connection that is inspiring. So I am grateful that you guys are allowing me to be part of it. So I talk about useful differences a lot with my DoD companies, with my clients, with the customers on the arsenal. I think right now we talk about useful differences. I'm not referring to differences in ethnicity. Believe me, you look at my family picture, we look like a walking poster board for colors of Benetton. My oldest son is Black. I'm half Black and white. I've got the whitest of people in my family, and I've got the darkest of people in my family. So ethnicity to my family and diversity is, it's a way of life. So when I talk about useful differences, I'm not talking ethnicity. I'm really talking about even deeper things we can't see, differences of thought, differences of skill set, differences of motivation. What motivates your colleague to your left that doesn't motivate your colleague to your right? The folks that we put on our teams can't all think just like us. If I was surrounded by a bunch of me all day, I'd be flipping exhausted, because I'm a lot to take, and I can't take me being surrounded by me all day long. So I really try to make my clients, my colleagues, my customers understand that differences need to be embraced because it helps us grow. We get growth from the differences in the room. I think as leaders, we need to have an intensive understanding of a mission, of what the mission is, and an honest understanding that what we personally as leaders cannot provide. I know what my strengths are. I also know what my weaknesses are. And I am fully open kimono disclosure with my clients, my colleagues, and the people that I work with. That is not my bailiwick. That is not what I do well. And when they know that I am able to verbalize that and be proud of the fact that I know what my weaknesses are, they want to surround me with the people that can help me with that. They're not put off by the fact that I say I can't do something. They want to help me to make it better. And I think one of the things that I saw recently, and y'all know that during the world of COVID, Netflix has become a bunch of people's best friend. Well, I love Netflix. And one of the stories that I saw a few months back before the holidays was the story of Michael Jordan. Now, I'm from North Carolina, so you know I had to watch this. It was called The Last Dance. I'm not a basketball fan. I'm not a Bulls fan, but this story was about the three-peat of the Bulls, winning 3 games in a row or 3 championships in a row twice. But what stuck with me about this story was a quote from the coach, Phil Jackson, where he said, "The strength of the team is each individual and the strength of each member is the team." And that stuck with me and hit me hard because those are the things that I think if more of us realized that we don't have to know everything, even as leaders, and that we shouldn't fault ourselves for it, especially as women, that we do a lot better. So a history of different connections. This is one of the other things I think that is important as leaders, as women, as team players, as we go into the world and make differences. I think it's important for us to share with others that, hey, America has always been a place where countless examples of groups are conquering insurmountable challenges, and that we're persevering against all odds. And we do that so that we can do better for ourselves, but also that so we can do better for others. From everything from us winning, women winning our hard-won independence, from abolishing slavery, building industries that positively impact the world rather than take away from it. I mean, we've just gone through a year of a pandemic, and now we're sitting here with the vaccine. We're curing devastating illnesses. We're now even going to explore space. We've done that before, and it's coming back, and we have a really good chance of Space Command being here in Huntsville. Those kinds of things to me are inspiring. And the fact that we're sitting in a town where all of the things that I just now mentioned, America conquering, a lot of them have happened right here in the South, in Alabama, in Huntsville, from landing on the moon to now we're going to have Space Command. From civil rights, from women being in leadership roles before women being in leadership roles was cool. So that to me is inspiring. And I hope that if you aren't aware of all of the amazing things that have happened in Huntsville, that you'll do a little read up on that. And then finally, I think we're at our last slide, Angela. Finally, I just want to say to each of you, the fact that you've even invited me to talk to you about connecting to your server, your inner server, I think speaks volumes. You guys are already connecting. I just ask that as you continue to do your good works, that we impart this wonderful wisdom of ours as women, and the fact that we're constantly evolving, that we impart that on other young women. I think that as women, we are the ones that are constantly changing. We go from whether it's college to a career, to motherhood, to taking a step back from a career, to either staying at home with our children, which is a career in and of itself, to possibly getting back in the workforce with children. we find ourselves evolving and wearing so many hats that change is natural for us. But change is not natural for a lot of folks. And being able to embrace that change and being able to embrace the fact that if I'm serving not just myself, not just my family, but others in my community that might need that message, it's not just going to uplift them, it's going to uplift me too, is a message that more and more people need to hear.
We're so glad to have you tonight. And that was so, so powerful. You really moved me in pretty much everything that you said, PeggyLee. So thank you for being
Thank you.
To unmute.
I'll just say thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and what a powerful story you have. And like Angela said, so much of what you said resonated with sort of how I see, how I see our role in life as women.
Well, I was just going to say that I am going to steal something you said. When I was a young intern working at Gunter Air Force Base, we had this 3-star general talk to us, and he said, if you see something you like, steal it. Somebody, the person you got it for someone else.
That's
so
right.
When you were talking about differences, I'm going to use some of that because I'm going to talk about communicating with 5 generations that are alive right now.
That's amazing.
Gonna tie that.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to hear it. That's awesome.
One thing that you said, PeggyLee, that I loved it all, and I can't really pick out one thing. I think from every slide I had at least one thing that you said, but one thing that I really love that you said, which I think is the cornerstone of a good leader, is how you talked about influencing others through multiplication. And I mean, we that is what we are supposed to do with our connections, like you were saying. And then when you were talking about the part about how sometimes you have to just be really transparent and say, I'm not good at this. I'm right there with you. I'm with you, sister.
That's right.
I have a lot of things I'm not good at. And I have learned to be okay with telling my clients, I'm really good at this, and you're asking me to do this other thing that's similar, but that's not my strength. And so if you want to do it, I might be able to help you out a little bit, but I'm really not good at it, and you probably need to find someone else.
I love that. And I know for me, I'll speak for myself, as a woman that was competing or in a career surrounded by all men, because I was flying 20 years ago. That was a hard thing for me to get comfortable with, was saying I don't know that, because I did not want to admit what I believed was a weakness. But as I matured, I realized that being able to say I didn't know something was actually a strength and not a weakness. And so, and I just think it shows kind of an integrity or an honesty, or, the open kimono that it's okay. Like, we don't have to know it all. Like, that's just, I think that's a pressure that we put on us. And so I'm not giving into it anymore. So, but thank you, Angela. This has been amazing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tatiana, and I just wanted to say I did not catch the whole presentation. Unfortunately, I was on my way from work, but I did read about you, and I kind of caught the last couple of slides. And I wanted to share a story. I'm from Russia originally, and my sister right now, she is studying to be a surgeon. And a couple of weeks ago, we were talking to my mom, and she said, well, she's the only surgeon girl. I was like, what? Hold on a second. So to me, because of you and other women that kind of paved the way, to me, it's normal to be a surgeon, to be a pilot, to be anybody I want to be. And for them, because they're kind of 20, maybe 30 years behind, she's the only one in the whole course, and she is dealing with all the men, and they kind of laughing at her. And I was like, what? How's that
Wow.
even happening? Where do you live? Like, my mentality is completely different just because I came here when I was 18 and I grew up in America. So, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I am UH student too, and I'm kind of on the last 2 years of my school, and I was considering cybersecurity. And I was talking to my mom, and I was thinking, well, should I really go to cybersecurity because I'm really good at C++? And she said, well, you're going to be surrounded by men. But listening to you, I'm thinking, well, no, there are other women, with
There
they're
are.
out there doing things. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. You inspiration.
Oh, Tatiana, that is so nice. And let me tell you something. Right now, the cybersecurity world, I mean, that's a big shortage of people. And right now, there are a lot of companies that are really putting a foot forward to get more women into that field because they realize that women bring a perspective, they bring a talent, they bring something to that sector that isn't there right now. So I would use that as a sign, my friend. You go after what you think interests you. If that is it, because it's perfect timing. More women are needed in that field, and companies are recognizing that more women need to be in that field, and there are a lot of incentives for it. So
I was just going to say, first of all, just thank you for your time and that you've motivated to given us here this evening. I would say that for me, the top two highlights of tonight's presentation is one, the way you highlighted just the family aspect, the importance of the role that we can have on children and the next generation. And secondly, when you talked about evolving, sometimes we don't, or I know I don't realize how much I've changed, but to put it into the perspective that you did, not just with our career roles, but as women, is something that maybe we can reflect on. So how far we've came and and look forward to where we're going in the future. So very inspirational.
oh, thank you,
for your time.
Jessica. Thank
Amazing. So thank you. I actually enjoy the patience of the women and the camaraderie and encouragement and motivation more than anything.
Have a lot to celebrate, and it will be a celebration that goes beyond March, Women's History Month, into April. And I'm going to throw it back to PeggyLee as our special guest. She gets to make the first big announcement.
Okay, so I'm going to announce the winner of the scholarship from WIN. And I have to tell you, after talking to Angela, I want to meet this girl and I want to have lunch with her. And I just want to discuss all the things that she has planned for herself because she had it together at her age. So I'm not going to say her name yet. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. So this young lady is a freshman at UAH. She is an artist, and she aspires at some point to be able to not just own her own company, but be able to run her artistry shop. She does already have a small business called CT Art. And as part of the scholarship, as you ladies know, but for some of you who may not only did this young lady have to apply and be part of the business college at UAH, but she had to get 3 recommendations or letters of reference. And Angela was talking to me about these references, and I'm telling you, this is the kind of stuff that she could get hired at like big companies with these references. Just really spectacular, amazing things about this young lady. So I am so thrilled to announce my lunch date and recipient of the WIN Scholarship is Miss Chloe Todd.
Yay, Chloe. We're so proud of you.
And we are going to tell you about the nominations for the WIN Powerful Woman Award. Nominees must be a female entrepreneur who is a Huntsville or Madison County influencer and who is making a difference in the community.
They must have a business license.
They must live or work in Madison County, and the winner will be announced during the April WIN event and will be notified by email.
and she will be a VIP special guest during the April Win event.
Okay, now announcing the Win Powerful Woman nominees. First, we have Theresa Means, Tara Pickens, Stephanie Weaver.
And then we have Karen Mockenstrom, Alicia Ryan, Carly Selden. Okay, we also have Laura Huckabee, Jennings, Angie Sandrita, and Deb Smith.
That is an amazing lineup of women.